And I believe someone's sitting at my old piano.
Yeah, it's Steve Robach, and he's a pianist from New Orleans who relocated to Chicago after Hurricane Katrina. And we're going to talk to Steve a little bit, but he'll be the next guest, but we're going to start him off and start you off with some of his wonderful music. He's been messing with his piano earlier this morning, got us juiced up before the show started, and here we go. Steve Robach, now a Chicagoan, out of New Orleans. Here at the Heartland Cafe. Steve Robach. Yes. Okay, we got, not only we have special guest Steve Robach, but we have our associate producer Daniel Kugler, who has been making a great difference in this radio broadcast, moving it toward podcasting, making sure all of the shows are uploaded on youtube.com/heartlandmedia. You can see lots and lots of earlier editions. And this is a young guy who came out of Loyola, who was involved with Loyola's radio station, WLUW, and not too long ago I was in touch with him and I said, geez, I'd like to have you on the show to help out there, Daniel. And Daniel's been great bringing in the music, and Daniel's going to be our lead interviewer today with Steve Robach. So take it away.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Michael and Katie. It's wonderful to be around. And Steve, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? When did you first play the piano? How about that?
Oh, that's hard to remember. I was a kid. I was always around music. My dad played piano. My sister played piano, and just always been around music. You hear music in the streets in New Orleans, you know, various times of the year, and you know, could always hear brass band music all the time. So you know, I just, as far as when I started playing clarinet when I was a little kid, and then when I got to junior high school, I went to the public school, and clarinet, it seemed, was kind of a girl instrument, you know, so, you know, and I bowed to the pressure. I changed to piano back in junior high school, you know, but with
because you could carry it around with you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, if you hit somebody with a piano, you're in good shape, man. Clarinet's gonna break, you know. So.
So then, well, when did you kind of first start going out and playing music in clubs and things like that? How did that all come together for you?
Yeah, when I was pretty young, you know, used to hang. There's so many little small dives and joints in New Orleans where you can play, and could always hear, you know, blues going on, and and I was very influenced by the meters, you know, like in the whole thing that was going on in the late '60s and early '70s was just knocked me out. I couldn't, you know, it was like New Orleans was the center of the universe at that point. I hadn't been anywhere else, so and you know, a lot of people get stuck on that. There's some wonderful things going on in New Orleans, but there's a big world out there. So you know, I by the late '70s or so, I decided, man, I had to take off. I had to get out of the city and you know, kind of wandered the planet for quite a while. Ended up in Europe for about 5 years. My first year in Europe, I did an overland trip from Switzerland to India, and I got kind of sidelined. I ended up studying Indian classical music in North India, in Varanasi on the Ganges River. And you know, that was kind of an odd trip because it was late '70s. Shah of Iran was just getting kicked out as I passed through Iran. You know, had some couple of life threats. Well, I told everybody I was French because at that point Khomeini was in exile in Paris. And I told everybody, you know, moi je suis français, hein, non pas de problème, hein, you know. So, you know, but you know, one guy in Mashhad near the Afghani border sort of, he'd studied in Paris. He started, they said, man, you got a funny accent when you speak French, you know, and started giving me all kind of problems.
I was just going to ask you, I said, is that French, New Orleans French pass for regular French?
No, that's, I speak regular French. I mean, you're thinking of the South Louisiana French, which I can barely understand. I mean, the only time I could really understand is when I was in Switzerland and I could read the subtitles because they'll subtitle it, you know, like, you know, certain movies in English, you know, like these Jamaican movies, you need to read subtitles, otherwise you don't know what anybody's saying, right? The same with French, man. That's, you know, that's like it's a 200-year-old, you know, Canadian French, you know, with all kind of slang and Indian words and African stuff, and you know, all kind of, you know, bizarre mixture.
Wonderful. So you got you're in Iran, and then what happens next?
So I made my way out of there. Got out. You know, some guy threatened me. You know, he figured out I was American. No, starts you know, yelling at me in English. You know, you're American. You know, so yeah, all right, okay. You know, so we're gonna kill all Americans. Blah blah blah. I said, all right, okay, cool. So you know, anyway, I got out of the place. Went to my hotel. Took the bus to Afghanistan the next day. Got through Afghanistan. It was actually a beautiful country. This was before the Soviets came in and destroyed all the mosques and, you know, like wiped everything up. And I mean, there was still some funky stuff going on. Absolutely. You know, it was like you know, a throwback in time. You know, when you're traveling a place like that. But you know, I was just fascinated with the place, and I was only there for a few days. But the Soviets showed up about 3 months later and kind of shut the place down. So you know. So at that point, when I got to India, spent about 6 months studying and various other things, and you know, took a flight back to Germany when I came back. Said, well, okay, overland route is kind of blocked off now. So you know, it's a popular thing to do back in the '70s. You know.
So you talked about the meters being a big influence on you. I remember being kind of in an altered state at Tipitina's with the meters playing, and they won my heart. What other musicians out of New Orleans or anywhere really have influenced your work?
Well, you know, those guys especially. I mean, I did work a little bit with Zig Modeliste. I used to actually play in a club that his uncle owned while I was working with Mighty Sam McLean Blues Band, and he used to come in there all the time. I don't know what he was up to, but anyway, he'd come in and come sit in, you know, play a few songs, and I did a couple of gigs with him, with George Porter as well. I done some gigs with George, the bass player, and other influence as well. Of course, James Booker. I lived down the block from the Maple Leaf Bar, and he used to play there every Tuesday. And the guy was just a monster piano player. He was one of the guys who one of the few guys who had a lot, like classical training, and he would like throw all that stuff in, you know, to the funky New Orleans thing. And at one point, John, the owner of the Maple Leaf Bar, was selling the piano, so I went and I offered him $200, you know, and you know, said, "Oh no, man, that's not enough money." Called me the next day, "Come pick it up." So I had the piano that Toots Washington and James Booker used to play on in my apartment. You know, it's just like, oh man, you know, I'm gonna soak up that Booker vibe, you know, from this piano.
Should we do another song? Should we do?
I think another song is good. Let's just tell everybody they are listening to Live from the Heartland, brought to you every Saturday morning over WLUW 88.7, Chicago Sound Alliance. And you can get us anywhere in the world if you go to www.wluw.org. And we are here talking with Steve Robach. He is a pianist out of New Orleans. He's traveled the world. He's played with a lot of people. And he's here in Chicago now. He moved up here after Katrina. And he's going to play us another tune. What are you going to play us today?
By the way, that first song was a Joe Jones tune called You Talk Too Much, which I dedicate that to my next door neighbor. I hope she's not listening. But I heard that song at the Ultra Food Store some months ago, and I said, man, I can't believe they're playing that, you know, like this Joe Jones song, for this guy Joe Jones from New Orleans in the Ultra Food. But you know, I go there for inspiration now, man. You hear all kind of weird stuff on the PA over there. But let's see, how about okay, something a little different. This is a Jimmy Davis song. Jimmy Davis is the ex-governor of Louisiana. I think he wrote this back in the 30s.
Oh, a country singer.
Yeah, country guy.
I remember.
So I'm not going to do the country version of this, but and you can guess. Try to guess who wrote this song for. Anyway. The night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamed I held you in my arms. Then I awoke. I was mistaken, so I hung my head and cried. You are my sunshine, my one and only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. You are my sunshine, my one and only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine. Don't take my sunshine. Don't take my sunshine away.
Real nice. That's Steve Robach. You went singing an old tune out of New Orleans. Let me ask you a question. You moved up here from New Orleans after Katrina. Have you seen this TV series Treme?
Oh yeah, great man. I love that show, man. When I don't have HBO, but when I get a chance to see it, you know, you can find ways around that on the internet. So,
what's a lot of people you know in there? You see people, musicians?
Yeah, I see a lot of familiar faces. I used to hang out there a lot in the '80s. I moved because I was in Europe from the late '70s up to about '82. From '82 to '87, I was back in New Orleans. I used to spend a lot of time in Treme because I knew a lot of guys. In the neighborhood, we used to host these jam sessions, that would go on pretty late at night, and it's great for me just to see the old neighborhood and the stuff going on and familiar faces. Shannon Powell lives over there, and Walter Payton lived in that neighborhood. He recently passed away.
That's not our football Walter Payton.
No,
that's another Walter
not
Payton.
that Walter. No, his son Nicholas Payton. You probably you maybe have heard in some of the festivals around here because he's a pretty renowned trumpet player. I remember when he was a little bitty kid. He could with blowing scales next door from where I was.
But Steve, what are you doing here in Chicago? Where are you playing and what are you doing? Because you sound great, and we want to have you back on the show. We want to have you play here. We want to get to know you a little better.
Well, my one steady gig I got right now is at a place called Heaven on 7, which is a New Orleans restaurant. Jimmy Banos has a restaurant. He's got one downtown. I've been working Sunday brunch since I got here after Katrina. Every Sunday.
Is that on Wabash?
The one in Naperville.
Oh, in Naperville.
So I'm out in Naperville, out in the burbs. A little far out there, but if you ever out there, it's a nice place, great food. It's 11 to 3 every Sunday, and most of my other stuff is just pickup gigs. I do Hugo's Frog Bar once in a while when I get the call, and that's a different kind of thing. I still do some New Orleans stuff while I'm in there, though. It's more of a piano bar scene, but I throw some New Orleans stuff in there too.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll see you around the Heartland more in the future. And I want to thank you a lot for coming by, Steve Roebuck.
Great.
And how about playing a little short tune for us as we transition to our next guest, Judy Gall?
All right. Here we go.
And one more question. If people want to find you online or something like that, is there a way how can people get a hold of you if they want you to play something or want to follow where you're playing?
Well, I'll give you my contact info because I don't have a website, which I need to do, and everybody keeps bugging me to do that, and I know I got to do it.
Won't be long.
All right. Well, we'll let them hear some music in the meantime. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Steve Roebuck. That's really nice.
Thank you.
We like you. We're going to see more of you.
Man, I'm really glad Dan got to do the interview there. But I want you to know, Steve, from attending the opening day at Fairgrounds in 1975, on my way to a 4-month trip in South America, to sitting on a big southern oak tree with Michael on mescaline when we decided to come back to Chicago and open the Heartland.
That was in the pouring rain in Audubon Park.
Yeah. Anyway, I feel like a native.
We made the deal to do the Heartland
of New Orleans, so it's a treat to have you here. Thank you so much.